we're going to deviate from the news and go back to our guest. We've got a special guest with us. I'd like to welcome her to the show. She's a ring girl for the UFC, and her name is Brittney Palmer. Brittney, thank you for joining us here on MMA Today. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Let me ask you a question, Brittney, because we know so much about fighters and people that are all involved in the workings of MMA, like referees and Dana and that kind of stuff. How did you get into becoming a ring girl?
Well, I grew up in Vegas, and, right out of high school, I started dancing in big Vegas shows, and, with that, I obviously was with some modeling agencies out there, and I went to an audition, and then for the WEC, got that, and then I've been with the company ever since, and then they merged.
Wow. Now, not knowing much about your position as a ring girl, how busy does the UFC keep you? Do they have you at a lot of events? Do they have you running around a lot?
Oh, I think we lost her.
Ooh, I think we lost the connection there. Hopefully...
Oh, no, here we go. We're good.
Okay. Did you hear the question, Brittney?
Yes. They keep me really busy. I'm gone almost every other weekend, and it's great, and I have a blast, and I wouldn't trade my job for anything in the world.
So, from the standpoint of the UFC, do they consider you like a full-time employee? We want you to be available whenever we call you. Is it that kind of a thing?
Yeah, but I mean, it's never. I guess they are my first priority. Anytime they need me, I will drop anything to be there. So, yeah, I'm a full-time employee.
Well, that's cool because, as a spectator of the sport, most of the time we're only exposed to the ring girls at the fight or when there's events like, when they have the fan expos and stuff like that, we'll see some of the ring girls there, but we don't necessarily see all the things that they have you involved in. Although, obviously, with The Ultimate Fighter, they have you there. How many ring girls does the UFC have?
3 of us.
Okay. So, really, they keep the pool small, but that's a good thing.
Right.
Now, my understanding is that for the fighters, they have to agree to fight exclusively for the UFC. Does the UFC allow you to do work outside of UFC stuff?
UFC is competitive of anything, but we wouldn't want to do anything else. We are all 3 UFC fans. I'm happy with them. I wouldn't go to anyone regardless of the offer. I'm a UFC girl. I'm happy to be it, and I would never, it's kind of like cheating on your boyfriend.
Sure.
I'm happy where I am. They would never even have to worry about it.
Well, that's cool. Now, I saw a teaser interview where you said you liked watching fighters get punched in the face. Something to that effect. So what did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I think it's more of I meant that in more of like a broader term. I enjoy the physical aspects of, obviously, MMA, mixed martial arts. I love fighting. I think it's brilliant. I think it's such a combat sport, and I love that. And it takes a lot of talent, really, to do it. And, these guys are little warriors, and that's what they do. They do 2-3 times a day. They're training, and it's just one of those really awesome, amazing sports. So when I say I enjoy seeing someone get punched in the face, like, I enjoy a good fight. I love that thrill and that just excitement. It gets me going, and I'm a fan.
Well, as a spectator myself, one of the things I really like is to see some of the female fighters. How do you feel about the female fighters in MMA?
Misha Tate, Gina Carano, I think that they're fantastic women. I could never do it because I don't have the stamina to, but all the power to them. I think it's great. Anything that those girls, I know them personally, and they're great girls, and rock on, power to it.
Hey, Brittney, this is Jim, and I thank you, too, for being on the show. I want to go back on your comments about how you like the the brutal combat, really, of MMA and combat sports, and then also being a lover of art. That seems quite the contrary to most artists that we come across. How do you explain that?
Well, I wouldn't think that at all, really. You can love MMA and still love art. I feel like there's there's no reason why you can love one and not the other. They're two completely different things. You know, I like MMA. It's a sport. There's a reason it's the #1 growing sport in the world. And at the same time, I enjoy, you know, painting rock stars, and I enjoy painting and everything that goes along with it. I feel like those are two completely different aspects, but you don't have to only like one or the other.
Yeah, okay. And I probably misspoke when I said that, because I'm thinking of our demographics of mostly being 18 to 34-year-old males who either watching the UFC or NASCAR. But I see where you're coming from. I see that most of your art does have to do with classic rock stars. So I apologize.
So
No.
you have a website where our listeners can go and look at some of your artwork?
Yeah, I do have a website. It's actually really cool. My artwork is it is on the website. My website's completely being redone right now. It'll be relaunched. I mean, you can still check it out at BrittneyPalmer.com, but we're doing a complete relaunch of it, and I think on Tuesday the new one will come out, and that has all my new updated art, because the art that we have on there now, that's the art pieces that I've done, a year ago, and ever since I've moved to Los Angeles and been going to art school, my art really has grown, and I've just learned so much, and I'm kind of applying it to, the work that I've had. So, yeah, check it out now, or check it out in a couple of days when it relaunches, and it's just going to be such an awesome site. I worked with the guy on it, and it's just really creative. And
so that's
really,
cool.
Really cool.
So we can check that out at BrittneyPalmer.com, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Well, I'd like to challenge you, Brittney, because I have a son who just graduated from the Fort Lauderdale Art Institute, and his art is at caprioart.com. So I'd love for you to check it out and let me know sometime what you think of that kind of art, because it may be a little different than yours. I haven't had a chance to see yours, but I'm definitely going to check it out. And I'd love to get your feedback as a fellow artist, what you think of the kind of artwork he does. So
Awesome.
That's cool. So we love to support those kind of things, because that's what makes people unique. Artwork is awesome. So what do you say would be the most fun part about your role in the UFC? And on the other side, what would be the hardest part?
I think that the most fun is traveling the world and meeting some of the most amazing people, interacting with some of the most amazing people, really, and being a part of something so big. I mean, who could ever say anything bad about being a part of, being one of 3 ring girls, a part of the biggest sport, fastest growing sport in the country? It's amazing. If you're a cheerleader, you're one of 12, one of 24, and even though it could be for the NFL, it's just so cool that, I'm one of 3. I'm so lucky, and I'm so happy and appreciative of the opportunity and everything that's given to me, being a part of UFC. And I think the downfall is I can't eat all the crappy, delicious food I want to.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. No, you're right, because really, even in the NFL, if you were one of 12 on a team, there's still 20 other teams, so you're really talking about hundreds of cheerleaders in the NFL. So really, the UFC has one of 3. That's awesome. Yeah. So we congratulate you on that. Where do you hope that your career would take you from here?
Well, right now, I feel like my career is definitely going on the right path. I'm the happiest I've ever been. Now I'm a current resident in Los Angeles, and I'm in art school and traveling the world, and it's definitely headed right where it needs to be. But ultimately, I want to be an artist, and that's kind of the goal. And I'm going to ride my UFC wave as far as I can take it, because I'm in love with it. And eventually, in a couple of years down the road, I'll just be a full-blown artist.
Well, that's awesome. Maybe you'll have an art gallery. You and Paul can display your art together. That'd be awesome. All right. Well, Brittney, it's truly been a pleasure having you on the show. I'd like to personally thank you for taking the time to join us here tonight. Is there any one you'd like to give out a shout to before we let you go?
Just to really thank everyone for, all my fans, and thank UFC and Gamma Labs. I'm the spokesmodel for Gamma Labs. I have to shout out to them, and, just keep on my website, buy some art, look at art, listen to rock and roll.
So the best place for our listeners to follow you would be on your website, BrittneyPalmer.com?
You can follow me on Twitter at Brittney Palmer, Facebook at Brittney Palmer fan page, and then on my website as well. So we all link it together. So if you're not on Twitter, then get on Facebook. If you're on, it's all
Well, that's great. Well, I hope your art career takes off at some point, but we want to keep you around in the UFC for a long time to come. So we wish you the best. Wish you the best of success in the future, and we look forward to seeing you at all the upcoming UFC events. Thanks again for joining us.